guys, how's it going? And welcome to the Rebel Pastor YouTube channel, Pastor Sky. I am over here in South Korea currently at the moment. From next week, I will be touring Canada and America, so I'll be like recording from all these different cities and such. But this will be my last for about the next 6-7 weeks, possibly even 10 to 12 weeks, but not quite sure about that yet. But one thing, yeah, everyone's heard this, the assassination of Charlie Kirk. And shockingly for me, I didn't know it was going to be this big, but it's shaking the world. Like, many people are affected by this in different countries. I'm talking to people in Australia, in Europe, even in Asia, and everyone's hearing about this news. And a lot of people are just so shocked. And, you know, a lot of people feel like, I know a lot of people are not eating. People can't, it's not that they're fasting, is they can't eat because they're so shocked by this news. And even for myself, I heard the news on Thursday because in Asia, you know, it's like 15, 16 hours ahead. And we all heard the news on Thursday while, you know, in North America, it was all heard on Wednesday, on the 10th, right? And for me, it was just a shocking morning for me because I had a dream. In the morning, I had a dream. My brother calls me, and when my brother calls, he says, it's not good. And what he meant actually was, my mom was about to die. So I was, you can't imagine what you're feeling, what I'm feeling inside this dream. And I'm like, I'm trying to call my mom, trying to figure out what's going on. But my mom died in my dream. And I woke up and I'm like, oh my gosh, I gotta check, how's my mom doing? And when I open the phone, my phone is blowing up. And I see this, I was on YouTube, you have the thumbnails. And on the PBD podcast, I see the thumbnail. It's like Charlie Kirk, rest in peace. I was like, what is going on? And of course, you just look a little bit into it, and it's so shocking that when I heard the news, he was in the hospital. And then, of course, maybe a few moments later, he was, he died. And I would say that for the next, it was all of Thursday, Friday, Saturday, until Sunday. It was almost like almost 4 days. In so much shock, I wasn't fasting, but every time I ate, I couldn't hold it down. And I had no appetite. And even now, I'm still a little bit shocked by it, but I'm much better after Sunday. But yeah, it was real. It was such a shocking event. I didn't even believe it was true. I had to keep checking from, PBD podcast to Fox News to this, to that, even checking CNN and all the, MSNBC, all these different places. I'm like, is this real or not? And it ended up being real. And I saw, even looking back now after almost a week, it's such a sad day in American history. It really is. And I would say even more than just an American event, it's definitely a sad day in world history too. And just seeing actually what happened, being on campus with all those students and someone actually doing that, thinking that it's okay. And what's even more shocking to me is the other reactions from people, I think more of it's in America, saying that he deserved it, or saying like just wicked and evil responses. And for me, I'm like, I don't understand how people can actually live with themselves thinking that this type of thing is okay. And I'm sure that if you're a normal human being, if you're really normal up here, you would not be saying like, there's this one guy that, even for me, I'm not much of a political person, but I do dabble in it every once in a while, especially in America, because it's so divided. But I saw Nick Fuentes too. He's kind of like the person that was battling against Charlie Kirk. But even him, super respectful. And I was really, really happy just to hear. And one of the end notes that I liked that Nick Fuentes says, if there was anything that they agreed on, was about, being courageous in faith and telling people to believe in Jesus. And for me, I'm just like, that's the most important thing. And that's why, because that's the core of a person, that should be the thing that connects us all together to make us love each other more than hate each other. But for me, I have no relation, no relationship with Charlie Kirk. Just someone who watched his content. I would say probably a very, very big fan of a lot of his content too. And I would say there's a couple things that I really, really respected about him. Like number one, like for me being a YouTuber also, just seeing his content, what he does, and just grabbing his audience, I thought it's incredible. And that's why he's like over 5 million people on his YouTube channel. I'm just like, oh, that's someone to look up to. He had a vision and he fulfilled it. And he's amazing. What, 850 chapters around America for Turning Point USA, which is his organization. So incredible. Second thing I really respected about him is his speaking. Great speaker. Very coherent. He speaks fast, but you can understand everything that he's saying. But even more than that, I loved his, what do you call it? He's so cerebral that he's on campus and he's allowing anyone to just come to the mic and they're just gonna have a conversation and things just come out of his mind so quick. Like he processes fast. So he's a great debater, like a great speaker, and he has good conversations with people, right? But I would say the most important thing, especially, we're here on the Rebel Pastor YouTube channel, and, what we talk about the most is Bible and faith and such. And I think that the thing for me that is so impressive and the thing that I respect and admire the most about Charlie Kirk is his ability to integrate his faith, his work into his faith. What I mean by that is, in the end, when it comes to us as human beings, right, and who we are, our identity is not going to be, am I Republican or am I a Democrat or am I, that's not our identity. And he saw his number one identity as a Christian, as a person of faith. And that is something that he had the courage in such a volatile space. Politics is not easy, especially in America. People are rabid and they're so divided. But not only just politics, he's putting his faith into the politics, which makes it double dangerous, right? Double, like it's like it could explode at any moment. And a couple of the interviews that I saw in the past, there's one I think there's a Whatever podcast when he talks to the OnlyFans girls. Very respectful. He didn't demean them or anything else. He wasn't preachy at all either. But at the very, very end, he kind of left them with things to think about. Like, hey, I urge you to look for more meaning and purpose. And this is not the way. Right. And he would always profess his faith and saying that this is the best way, the greatest way for salvation is through Jesus Christ. And he would always end it at this. Even one interview was asked, if he died, what did he want to be remembered by? I'm sure you guys have seen that one too. And one thing that I thought was quite interesting, he's like, yeah, if someone had 20 seconds left to live, I'd only preach the gospel. He'd tell them that Jesus is the only way. That's the only way you're going to cross over to heaven. You got to accept Jesus as your Lord and Savior. Another one that he brought up, another question. Oh no, that was if someone were to die and 20 seconds left. Another one was, what do you want to be remembered by? And he said it was the courage and faith. That's what he wanted to be remembered by. And clearly, in such a volatile, niche, in area of politics, political analysis, to put Jesus into that is incredible. But it showed what type of person, what was the core values that he had. And being a person of faith and in politics, man, that's like almost an impossible thing to do. And it could have ended really, really badly. But he was able to really balance it well without being preachy, but just tell people, this is who I am. This is what I want for you guys too. And he would be on campus. It wasn't even a religious event. It's a political event. And yet he was able to bring his faith into it. I thought that was probably one of the most incredible things that he did. And I respect him all the more for it. Now, for me, as I pray and think about this, and I see the reaction around the world going on so far, oh man, what does this event mean in the big picture? Like in God's history, in God's providence, how is this death, the assassination of Charlie Kirk, going to affect God's history, right? And of course, we're not going to 100% know until it actually happens and we actually see what God does. But I want to share with you what my personal thoughts on this tragedy is, this tragic event. And number one, I'm going to say this as what I really feel and what the inspiration I get when I pray is, I truly believe that Charlie Kirk is a modern day martyr. He's a modern day martyr. What do I mean is, in the past, when we see martyrs, there's like a political martyr, there's a religious martyr, and people die for their beliefs, or they're willing to be going through suffering for their beliefs, right? And I see Charlie Kirk as both political and religious too, for Christianity. And in a generation we're living right now, it's social media driven, where he's able to bring both of those two worlds together. And I look at him, because of this social media generation, it's no longer just about someone preaching, someone talking about the Bible, someone talking about you have to come believe in Jesus. But in this modern day of social media, he has an audience of millions and millions of young people, especially students. Just his YouTube channel is like almost 6 million people, right? And he has this great following, and he's not only just talking about politics, but he tells people that his politics comes from his faith. His faith is the thing that generates the momentum, his purpose, his ideals, his values. And he was so open about his faith in such a volatile climate that I look at it as like, man, he literally died for what he believed in, which was both politics and faith. But it was faith first before anything else. Now, here's the thing. When you say a martyr, he died for what he believed in, right? And he's willing to die. And if you think about it, what is a martyr? Like, what's the definition of a martyr? A martyr is someone who chooses to endure death or severe hardship rather than give up on their deeply held convictions, right? And I think it's true. A martyr has this type of definition. And was he someone willing to die or endure death or severe hardships? Absolutely. If you look in some of his past interviews and past shows, he's had death threats. So even though having these death threats, he still went out into the public. And he doesn't have the Secret Service with him where everything is secured and locked down. No. He had his personal security, but it wasn't locked down like, say, if President Trump was there, right? So when I looked at this, like, yeah, he knew he had threats on his family also, but he was willing to. And he said it was worth it for him. He knowingly went into the public square, even though there were threats on his life, but he was convicted by his beliefs in politics. He knew the risks, but he never stopped. And that's why you look at that and say, wow, he died for what he believed in, both politics and faith. Now, here's the thing. If it is true martyrdom, there are 2 to 3 things that are actually going to start happening from this point on, and 2 of them are already beginning, right? The first one is, after a martyr dies, there's something called a stage of veneration, right? Which means that communities begin to honor these martyrs with memorials, anniversaries, or ceremonies. Their names are remembered and retold. Craziest part is, this morning I was talking to a friend in Australia, and they said they held a vigil at their campus for Charlie Kirk. Think about this. This is not even America. His voice reached all the way across the Pacific to Australia, and in Australia they're holding vigils for Charlie Kirk. The veneration is happening. There are prayer vigils happening all over the US and in the world. The second type of thing that's going to happen when it comes to martyrdom is inspiration. And martyrdom actually energizes a movement, encouraging others to persist in the same cause, right? And their death becomes a symbol or a rallying point. And you can see many of the people that know Charlie Kirk, many of the people in his organization, they're all vowing to step up. Does it mean they can fill his shoes? We don't know, right? Like, it's really, really hard to fill his shoes, but many people, including his wife, his friends, his family, people all around the world who've known him, they are now inspired to step up and continue the movement and the cause, whether both politically and religiously. The last thing that's supposed to happen when it comes to martyrdom is myth or legend building. And this can happen over time. Stories of martyrs, they grow into legends, shaping cultural identity or national history. Kind of like in France, you have Joan of Arc, right? Martin Luther King. You'll have these legends of this person, these stories coming up too. And that's something that's yet to be seen. But I really think, and as someone who's more on the religious sense, because I'm not really in politics, but I do feel that because he's such a major figure, the movement's going to be both political and spiritual. I do believe it's going to be both. But I do believe, especially because I consider him also a religious martyr, that there's going to be a movement towards Christianity. I really do. Just like the time of Jesus 2,000 years ago, he died, he resurrected, and then he went to heaven, right? But what happened next? Well, what happens next is hordes of people start coming into Christianity. They start hearing the gospel and believing in Jesus Christ, right? Jesus died, he resurrected, and his 12 apostles, right? Most of them were martyred. And this caused this great movement where they see people who are willing to die for what they believed in. And it compels them and it inspires them to go check out who Jesus actually is. And I think there's going to be a seismic shift in spirituality, in Christianity, where many people are going to start coming to Christ. My feeling is this is not going to be just a political movement, but it's going to be a faith movement. Like I said, I can't say much about politics because I'm not much of a political analyst, but what I can say is there's going to be a religious movement that occurs. God willing, only God knows what the future is going to be. But what you see happening right now already and the inspiration and the things that people are feeling, it wasn't just me who lost my appetite for 3 days. People were commenting, I lost my appetite too. I lost my appetite too. I lost my appetite too. It was sickening to see what actually happened on that day, right? And there's a line that was crossed in America on September 10th. There was a line because political assassinations, right? These types of things we've heard all throughout history in America, whether it's Lincoln, JFK, right? Or President Trump's attempted assassination. I think it was like 3 times. But this crossed a line because Charlie Kirk was he wasn't a politician. It crossed a line that this is why it's scary for a lot of people. And that's why it makes people really, really anxious. And this is something I really believe that all of us have to come together. We have to pray. We have to come together with the same heart, realizing, hey, you know what? We don't know exactly what God is going to do with this situation. But knowing who Charlie Kirk was and how faithful he was to God and what he truly wanted God to do through him, I truly believe that God is going to work through this wicked, heinous event, but make it into something beautiful, make it into something that will bring many to Christ. And I truly believe if Charlie Kirk's death leads to thousands and hundreds of thousands of people coming to Christ, he would take it every single time. And I wouldn't even be surprised if his wife would say the same, as like, hey, I would take it. Even though I miss my husband, if that's what it's going to generate, I think Charlie Kirk would take it 10 out of 10 times. And that's the person who he wanted to be, the person who had courage of faith. And I hope that all of us too can take courage knowing that there is something greater than our personal purpose. There's something greater than what we're doing every day, right? Whether it's just making money, whether it's going to school, whether it's doing a job, whether it's, meeting your family or parents. The one thing that I really want that everyone to really think deeply about is the one thing I learned really, like looking at Charlie Kirk, was he was integrating everything else into his faith. His faith wasn't an add-on to politics. Politics was an add-on to his faith. That whenever he talked about politics, he's like, because I believe in Jesus and the Bible, this is why I believe this policy is true and that this is the right way to think. And that's a far different way of thinking than us trying to just be a manager, just being these things, and every once in a while putting my faith, like adding my faith into my being a manager. We have to be those that put Christ first. We have to be those that put God first before anything else. And this is when we are blessed. And this is when, even when something so terrible as death comes knocking at the door, it will still be absolutely meaningful. So yeah, I'm really shaken, and I'm really thankful and grateful to God. And I'm hoping that all of us can really make this, and this is something that I look at and say, guess what? The name of his organization was Turning Point. And I do believe that this is a turning point in religious history. This really is. And now is the time for us to reach out to those people who really want to know more, who really need to find that meaning and that purpose also. And I hope that this will be that great turning point for God's history to happen at this time too. All right, everyone, I hope that you guys will stay safe, right? Keep Charlie in your prayers, keep each other in your prayers, and just know that it was never meant for us to hate anyone this much, to kill them. The way God wanted it was to love God first and love our brothers and sisters, and we can never lose sight of this, okay? Everyone have an amazing, awesome week. I'll keep you guys in my prayers as you keep me in your prayers too. And we'll see you guys again next week on the Rebel Pastor YouTube channel. Pastor Sky signing out. Bye-bye.
Never settle, I raise the level. It's time to go, sky's the limit, it's me against the world. Rebel pastor,